Hello once again, Star Wars and Unboxing fans. Welcome to another episode of Darth Tuba Star Wars Unboxing Show. I'm your host, Darth Tuba. And today we are going to do kind of a part 2 of the lighting of the room. I'm going to give you a quick review of something that I did about a week ago. And I actually posted a video of it. It was lighting one of my display cases with LED lights. And now I'm going to do that same exact thing with another display case. Same exact thing with the same exact display case. Actually, you can go back and look. It was only like 2 or 3 videos ago, and you can see kind of how it all came together. I will tell you, if I look over there, you can see there it is. Okay, lighted ever so beautifully. I will say that the strip tape of the lighting did start to come off right away, so I had to reinforce it. Okay, and that's something that, I mean, there's a couple of things that you can do when it comes to, like, you know, reinforcing anything that's like a stickiness. If you're in a space that's very dry, which is definitely this room, probably the driest room in the house, that kind of stuff's going to dry out and it's going to start to come off. I've had no luck. It's like if anybody's ever tried putting double stick tape on cement walls, like in your college dorm, it lasts for a couple of days and then it starts to fall off. So, yeah, they've come up with other ways, other things that work a little better. But I just basically just reinforced it with packing tape, not all the way around, just a few pieces all the way across. That'll just help just keep it more in place in the parts where gravity's going to want to pull it down. Okay, so if you do that, if you're going to find that strip lighting and do that in a display case, I would highly recommend that you reinforce it with some kind of clear packing tape or something really strong. Or you can also use like a glue gun, Gorilla Glue, something of that nature. Okay, but here, this is another display case, and if you look at both of them, this is the exact same display case. It came from the exact same store that was going out of business that I used. And the other thing is, if you've watched previous episodes, you'll see the barge is here. So this is where I moved the barge, and I've kind of done a quick shelf talk about all this. But today, I thought it might be nice to kind of break things down more individually, okay? And you know, as I'm taking things out, because I have to pretty much clear out the entire shelf to do the lighting, okay? And I'm also going to move a few things around. I decided I want this case to be a complete vintage 70s and 80s case because I was so impressed with how well that case kept out the dust and other particles. And, you know, the vintage stuff, let's face it, that's the stuff that, you know, here's the thing, guys, to all you toy collectors, and this is one of the dangers. Actually, it doesn't matter whether you collect carded, packaged, or loose. These are toys, okay? They are made from the cheapest plastic possible, okay? So they're going to degrade. They're going to start to, you know, as years and decades go by, you're going to start to notice they're going to start to not maintain their integrity, and things are going to start to fall off on them. Pieces aren't going to stay as tightly on them. Wings are going to sag. It's not. These were toys. They were meant for children. They were never built, especially the stuff in the 70s, was never built with the understanding that it was going to be put on display forever. Okay, so because of that, you have to do a few things, especially when you're a loose collector. You have to do a few things to try to keep them from degrading as slowly as possible. And part of that is try to keeping it air-free, as much air-free, dust-free as you can. So these kind of glass cases, which again came from stores, and I would suggest, I mean, there's a lot of places you can go. Like IKEA has a great selection of different types of displays. You've seen them on past videos if you look at some of my shelf talks. They offer an all glass display, $60, you know, $30 shipping, so $90 if you have to order it online. But if you can go there and pick them up, put them together yourself, $60, you know, you're not going to beat that price for a glass casing display, okay? This was, I think I paid, this is going back a long time, I think I paid about $500 for the 2 of them. But I think there was something else thrown in, if I'm not mistaken. I think there was maybe 3 things. I think there was a third case that I no longer have. But, you know, so really, roughly, I paid about $125 a piece, which in some ways is a little bit expensive. But you know what? It did the job so well for me, and I'm so gratified to have had them now that they also take up a huge amount of, you know, there's a huge amount of storage space in there. And, you know, because most of what's in there right now is vintage, I want to show you a lot of that. But the stuff that's not vintage, I'm going to take out and move to other spots, okay? So why don't we just start pulling this thing apart. and then we'll go from there. Okay, so the things on the top, okay, most of this is non-vintage. Most of the things on the top are the newer things. We have the sail barge, and I've done my best to keep the sail barge fairly, movie accurate. I'm sure that there are some people that will argue, like this character right here. I don't think this character, sorry for the focus, I don't think this character was in the barge. I think he was a Cantina alien. But I was just trying to fill the barge with as many exotic creatures as possible. You'll also notice that there are multiple Landos, there are multiple Leias, there are multiple Han Solos. Here's one down there, and there's one right there. Okay, I just kind of gathered as many of the loose figures as I had and just kind of all placed them there because it's a nice. I love this for a nice, great way to display loose figures. You know, I just think it's fantastic. All right, so the barge is great, and I'll keep the barge here when we're all said and done. I'll put it back on top. I kind of like my little Tatooine diorama here. Okay, of course here we have Luke, the farm boy Luke. This will probably move someplace else. And we have the newer skiff. Okay, that just recently came out. That's a beautiful piece. Okay, next to what is the vintage skiff, which I'm happy I still have. I was having a hard time finding that. I'm probably going to move this vintage skiff back into this display. Okay, just because again the vintage stuff is a lot older and it has a lot. It's got a lot further ways. You know, not as far to go to fully degrade, and you know some of the things aren't working as well. Like some of the. Whoops, sorry, hon. Put them down like that. And then this was a one of those battle pack pieces that was the Sarlacc, and it had a few characters and stuff. This is really not much. This is just a very, very soft ABS plastic. And then the Sarlacc is a little harder plastic there, and the whole thing fits on it. So I'll keep this all on top. But you know, I just love this setup. I absolutely adore this barge. And for those who keep up with the toy collecting business news, Mark Bordeaux, who is the designer for not only the barge, but he designed every Millennium Falcon and quite a few other vehicles from the vintage years, from '78 on to now, has just announced his retirement from Hasbro, which I am so sad, but understanding that this man has worked 42 years, I think he earned a well-earned retirement. But he was just such a great, he's probably one of the last, you know, vintage designers. So, and I think his swan song was this beautiful piece here, this beast of the barge. So happy that I was able to acquire this, especially knowing that it was probably his last piece, at least for Star Wars. So, good luck, Mark, in your next page in your life, and I hope everything goes well for you. All right, so let's start moving this stuff, and then I'll start showing you the other pieces. Okay, so we're going to start taking pieces out a little bit at a time here. Okay, we'll start from the back here. And again, a lot of these are, I'm going to try to limit as much of this display case as possible to vintage Kenner. Okay, this is one of those mirror, we had one of these on the Shelf Talk. It's a mirror, you know, kind of snapped together Return of the Jedi model. It's only half of it, but the mirror makes it look like it's two. So that I'll put that someplace else with all the other models. We got, and I'm just going to do shelf at a time here. We have one of the vintage speeder bikes, and here's, as you can see, as I mentioned, things are starting to degrade on it. Now, I will say this, it is true that if you keep stuff in the box, you probably stand a better chance of them lasting longer. But these are, you know, these aren't just collectibles, they're like childhood memories. So, you know, of course I had a lot of fun playing with them as a kid. So now they just kind of hold a place in my heart for my own personal nostalgia. So you do whichever way you want to do. But there's one, and I don't know. You know, it's funny. I see a lot as a second one, same exact thing, and it's funny because I don't remember getting a second one, but I might have. Sometimes my friends gave me theirs, or I got to get a second gift from somebody. Okay, now this is not a vintage item, or at least it's not a vintage item. You know, from the vintage days. This is essentially a set of binoculars that work. I do believe that there is a microphone and a recording ability, but of course I pull all the batteries out, so nothing really works right now. This is from episode 1. This is Darth Maul's macro binoculars that he used. Okay, kind of a cool, but I liked it because it, you know, sometimes I just collected stuff because I thought it looked like a prop, and I think that this is kind of one of those examples, you know. And it's got the little dish on there. I think you can use it to actually hear from conversations from far away. It was very, very basic tech from back in the day. Okay, and then we've got, the other day I showed you guys, ooh, I gotta be careful of this because I actually have a piece of plexiglass just resting on the regular glass. Got some micro machines. Maybe I'll actually unbox these. These are, back when Micro Machines took, you know, kind of took on the Star Wars license. In addition to, again, these were out in like the 90s. 1994, actually. So, it's funny, I call the, you know, I always say I'm only going to put vintage stuff in here, but gee whiz. 1994 is pretty vintage. These are some vintage, not vintage, some Micro Machines figures. But look, I mean, they're tiny, you know, so rather than take them out and lose them all, I just thought leave them in this. I unboxed it, but kept them in this little placeholder. Just to kind of I collected a lot of the Micro Machine stuff, but I didn't collect all of the Micro Machine stuff. I just kind of did pick and choose like little Jawas. Here we have Imperial pilots. I thought that was a kind of a cool concept. Like mini army men, so to speak. And you got some rebel pilots, but they are awfully small. And this one, speaking of macro binoculars, this is from Tiger Electronics, and it is, and I think that was the same thing for the other one, and I don't believe pretty sure I took the batteries out. I hope I took the batteries out. This looks like, I believe this is actually, believe it or not, I think, yep. I am like, oh my goodness, you know what this is? Oh my goodness. I think that this might be a camera. And I mean a camera that you would actually put film in. That kind of camera. So, I am pretty sure, I'm trying to figure out how to open it. Oh, open. Yep. That is where you would put film, boys and girls. From the old days. So this is just a vintage, it's a camera, but it looks like you know, you have a little viewfinder there, so it looked like something that you could use to take pictures. I think I took pictures with it and they were really bad. So, but again, it looks like a prop, it looks like the macro binoculars. So, Luke's macro binoculars, so there we go, a camera. Who knew? Alright, I gotta get these, reach out and get these two. We got Stormtroopers, Imperial Stormtroopers, nice little set. Yeah, I'm gonna put these back in. I'm gonna find a place, Imperial officers, you know. For a while, this was like, you know, the only way one could even hope to collect, like, large-scale troop building, you know. Alright, getting into a vintage piece. Whoopsie. Oh, that's alright, no harm done. Okay, I think this is what they called the Rebel Command Center. Okay, and it's got the nice little backdrop. If you look at the base, meaning the bottom, it is exactly the same base as the Land of the Jawas, which is over in that other seat if you look on the past video. I also picked up an Imperial place at Vintage on an auction, and look, again, base is the same exact playable features. This was Hoth. Okay, it's got the Hoth painting in the back there. And then you got the Land of the Jawas from Star Wars. You got the Imperial one. I think that was it. I think that was all of them. The item that fell, but thankfully landed on my foot, was one of the mini rigs. And this is like, I might want to keep this out because boys and girls, kiddos, this was our barge back in the 80s when we begged them to make a barge. This is what they did. They made a barge, and the barge essentially held one body. You know, and it never existed in the actual film. But I liked it. I thought the mini rigs were kind of cool, and it definitely, you know, 'cause he has the shape of it, had the one sail. So for fun, I might keep this out. Had that cool. Yeah, this was sound effects, kids. Okay, but we loved it. you know. So I might keep this out and just place it next to the Build-A-Bars just to see, oh, how far we have come. So that's cool. All right, and I'm gonna slide. Let's see. Oh, I think I saw what happened. Some things fell. That's what happened, but that's all right. This actually existed over there. This was a radar dish. I think this was a mini rig piece too, a little playset piece you could get, a little dish. Okay, it might come with. I'm not sure if it came with this piece or if it came by itself, but all right. I'm gonna move these things around. Excuse me. All right, I'm gonna have to take a pause in a few moments to clear out my space here. All right, here we go. We have some more micro machines. I think I'll probably just do an unboxing with all these. I just got to figure out a way to display them. You know, like maybe you get a Matchbox car kind of display piece. But oh, this is what I was looking for. I couldn't find it. Oh my goodness, this is just a Star Wars tin. They had a whole bunch of them back in the 80s, maybe 3. But good, look what's inside. All my coins, all of the Power of the Force, the first Power of the Force that came out like in 85. All the different coins. There's Paploo. See if we can get him. There we go. There's Luke Skywalker as a stormtrooper. Imperial Gunner. And then there's some gold coins here. We have R2 from Droids. Got C-3PO from Droids. And the one that nobody remembers, Jan Tosh from Droids. There's a few more in there, but because you know I did collect. I pretty much got all of the new figures from the Droids collection. I just wasn't able to you know, repurchase all the ones that I already had. Okay, now this is gonna be a little tricky because I have. All right, let me get this out this way. Okay, we have the Wampa. Wampa, Wampa, Wampa. That's what the kid did in the commercial. But the really cool feature is a little, you know, you can knock over somebody. I don't want to do it, but it's cute, you know. And you can also tell, even with being protected and not even getting a lot of light, this is just what it started to look like from years of play. This lighting is kind of hard to pinpoint, but you can see the yellowing. So yeah, you got to be careful with that, but it's okay. So I'll probably keep him there with the, you know, because there is a deleted scene where the Rebel base was capturing the Wampas. So there we go. All right, we got. See, these things are totally free of dust right now. This is amazing. Okay, look at that, baby. You know, maybe one of these days, you know, when I'm done unboxing everything, I might go back and do kind of like a retrospective on each individual piece. But this is the Turret and Probot playset. Okay, the Probot is the probe droid right there. This is the turret, and I believe if you spin it enough, or something happens where you turn one of these things, yeah. And then one of these things turns enough and it pops off. So that's a really cool piece. The turret's got a nice little container you can put people in. I love these little play sets. I miss the play sets. But I liked, you know what I think it is? I think we've outgrown the play sets because it's just gotten to a point where, you know, when we were kids, imagination was all we needed. We needed just a little bit of a kickstart with stuff like this, and then we could do all sorts of stuff, you know? Nowadays, it's like, you know, they tried. Episode 1, they released a few, and right before Episode 1 came out, they released a few play sets, and it just didn't have the same appeal, even for adults. Kids, absolutely not. But, you know, it's okay. And we're running out of space here, so let me consolidate. And then we've got one of the Tauntauns. There were two Tauntauns. This Tauntaun, you know, the way Tauntauns worked is there was a little spring-loaded piece here. You would just, you know, because the figures didn't have a way to straddle it like a saddle, so they just put it on the inside. And this one, of course, had this is the second release. It had the little change purse slit, and that's something that you can tell by the coloring that it's a different type of plastic, and it's starting to erode. It's very sticky and tacky. Okay, that's kind of one of the things that starts to that tackiness will even start to happen to the hard plastic too. But again, A lot of years of fun. Yeah, and you can stick your injured Luke inside like they did, which I thought was kind of a gruesome feature to include, but they did. So good for them. All right, and then get this thing. This thing is hard because it's got a ton of pieces. We do have a candle, an R2-D2 candle. Happy birthday. I'll probably end up finding another home for that. And I'm only doing this so I can just have the most amount of space. Okay, this was by far my most favorite collectible piece. I'm just getting it set up here. I apologize. I can't really demonstrate. There was a certain play feature that some toys had in the 70s and 80s, kind of like break apart feature. And that meant that, you could do something and like price, let me see if I can adjust the camera here. Hold on. I'll try to do this rather than... All right, here we go. So this was the Imperial attack base, and it was this awesome piece with lots of space for snowtroopers, and you can see some of this snowtrooper. Look at this poor guy. He's seen better days. He's missing an arm. His legs fall apart, so I had to put him together with masking tape. I keep him just because I think it's like amazing to see. All right, so what was cool about this is that they had these features where you could just press a button like this, and like things would fall apart. But they weren't that bad. There were only 4 pieces. There was a smash-up car derby playset in the 70s that was fun. I remember having that, and you could run 2 cars into each other, and they would break apart. But the main part of it would still work. You would just have to put a bunch of pieces together. So that broke apart. You could let's put our injured dude up here. There was a little piece right here, and then you could just boop, knock him over. You got a little gun here. Made that, again, cool sound effect. And then you can take out the cavern, So just kind of a fun thing, and a lot of imagined, a lot of imagined battles and fun things like that. Okay, so the last thing on this row, this is the last thing on this row, meaning I have like two more rows here, so it's going to be a long episode, but I think it'd be cool. As I said, you've seen already. I'll show you it all lit up at the end. But we've got another base with cardboard cutout. We got the we got the cantina. Okay, the creature cantina, I believe, is the name of it. Okay, there were 2 kinds. There was the creature cantina, which is the one with the plastic base, which is the more common one. And then there was also the cantina adventure set, which is basically just a cardboard cutout. I think it was a Sears or a JCPenney exclusive. But there were quite a bit of back there. There were quite a bit of figures that came with it. That was the one with the infamous blue snaggletooth. So there you go. Nice piece, right? And it had I love the art in the backdrop there. That was always really cool. All right, so I'll take a pause here, and then we'll show you. Let me clean these out, and then I'll start working on the second row. Okay, so we are moving right along here, and a couple of things here. Oh gosh, I just realized I broke my cardinal rule. Here's a Star Wars Episode 1 Pepsi Max, which I think it looks like it's from Europe, but it's full, and it was $3. So I don't know why I have a full can of Pepsi, but I will be remedying that and emptying that thing out very soon, and I'm not drinking it. All right, let's talk mini rigs. All right, these are my favorite things. I think what I liked about these was that, they didn't have in the original trilogy. There weren't that many, vehicles. I'm gonna push up so you can see me here for this one. Okay, there weren't that many. We had We had the X-wing, we had the TIE fighter, we had the Y-wing, and that didn't even come out until Jedi. So B-wing, A-wing. They didn't even change the TIE fighters in Empire, and by the time we got to Jedi, we had the TIE Interceptor. We only had a half dozen, vehicles. So they created these ones that were off-scene. You didn't see them. But that was good enough for us. We collected them and loved having them, and it was great. So they were nice design. I credit Kenner with really invigorating the Kenner designers, with really invigorating the Star Wars collecting hobby. So that was one of them. And they all have names, guys, but don't ask me. You can look them up. Just look up mini rigs, and they'll give you all of them. And what's really cool is I've been noticing that on Rebels and Clone Wars and even The Mandalorian, we've started to see some of these make appearances. Here's another one. I think this is an Imperial one. You can kind of tell by the gray. You know, and again, you know, they're just, they were inspired by, like, this has a very similar head shape to the AT-ST, right? So that was cool. Oh dear, except I just broke it. And I didn't break it, I just snapped it. There we go. So, put that down. As I said, they are all very played with, you know. There's another cool one from Jedi. You put a figure in like this, and then you could fly it like that. It's kind of a cool thing. They've kind of made some new ones of these back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, but they just didn't have the same appeal. Sand Skiff, I think. Another one, kind of a throwback to the sail barge. You put a figure right on top here. Maybe I'll when I put them back in display, I'll put some figures in them so you can see how they're supposed to work. Ah, yes, I've already done one with this previously, but this is my original Imperial Troop Transporter, or Transport, I should say. And I don't think, yeah, you can tell by the battery corrosion that the sound effects wouldn't work even if I tried. But it's complete otherwise. And I'll show you a few episodes ago, we have this one. And this actually looks a little bit better, but you'll notice a few changes, a few differences. Well, I don't even know if these paint X's were on here as labels. A lot of my labels have fallen off. Look at that pure Stormtrooper. Look how yellow he is. Wow. But this is the one with electronics, and this was the Palitoy version that did not have the electronics. I'm probably going to end up adding this one to the interior display. Put them next to each other. Okay. Oh, my heat's about to go on, so sorry for that. I just decided to activate my microphone so you could hear me better over my heater going on here. So more mini rigs. Here we go. We got this guy with those two little suction cups. I don't know how well the suction cups work anymore. Yeah, they're pretty loose. But a little helmet again. You can put the guy on. Has a little thing, a little grabber in the back. I mean, it was a cute little play feature. You know, you put a few of them out. You know, it definitely did its part in creating and stimulating the imagination. All right. We got my original vintage played with X-Wing fighter, complete with one missing laser and the cockpit. Two of the most common things to get lost, but you know, really neat. I think it still works, although I don't know if it locks anymore. If I can get it to lock. Nope. Oh, there it is. All right, locks in, and then it comes down. So again, you can see all the yellowing. There are plenty of toy websites and restoration videos. I would highly recommend checking them out. They do some pretty good stuff. I kind of like the vintage look. All right, we've got my band, and I hope I didn't misplace. There's one piece missing, but we got Max Rebo and the Rebo band. Here's Max. Here's Cy Snoodles. Here's Droopy McCool. I have almost a complete set. The only thing I'm missing is Cy Snoodles' microphone, but I think it's in there. It might have just fallen. So, really cool. You can tell though by Max's head color that his head and his body were made of different plastics. Being a piano player, I always liked, he was my favorite character. And in the expanded universe, while he was on the sail barge, he did not die. In the expanded universe. I don't know if they've really made a decision on that moving forward with the new canon, but he didn't die. He got out, and he went to go find the next gig or whatever it was. So, another vintage one. We got the another land speeder, and I think I had another one in the other piece. So this is I think this is my original. And here's my original cloud car, which I have one out there, but this is mine that I actually played with, because you can tell I played with it because we're missing the cockpits. I probably should just get rid of this, sell it to somebody for parts, but because I do have a full working, all pieces working and everything, but it's sentimental. What can I say? And I always loved the Cloud car. It didn't get a lot of usage in the Empire Strikes Back. It was just kind of a flyby kind of thing. All right, what else we got here? We got, a few more. Wow, the mini rigs are just flying fast and furious. This is a little mini shuttle. I love this thing. It's so cute. Now, if I can remember how... I always imagine like the big shuttle flying along, and this one kind of like the little kid. Like, what are we gonna do now? Like, like there's that cartoon with the big bulldog and the little tiny dog, and like, want to get some cats, Spike? Want to get some cats? Want to chase some cats? And he would go, nah, and he'd throw them. But anyway, so it's a cute one. So, and then we have this one again, a 2-seater. Can put two characters in it, and they're not really meant to sit; they're meant to stand. So it again, it was just kind of fun. Little walkout, in case they were going to hurt themselves jumping out of a tiny mini rig like this. All right, and this one, oh my goodness, this is kind of a cool piece. This was basically just it didn't really serve any purpose. It was just kind of like, it was meant to be just a power generator, It had a little thing you plug into. You can put these next to the ships. But it was a cool little accessory, and that was fun. And again, it helped fuel the imagination. So, pretty cool. I'm noticing I watch a lot of YouTubers that usually go out and do a lot of exploring. But because of our current situation in the world, a lot of them are, everybody's quarantined, so they're all starting to dig out their old toys and do this. I was like, well, I should do this too, because let's face it, this is what I do. So, okay, we got a vintage model. Now, mind you, I'm not a model maker. This is a glued model. I did my own take on the paint job. It wasn't all that great, but hey, I was being creative in my years there, so I'm proud of it. Probably not put it back in here. I'll probably put it up with the other models that are up top there. We have the Ewok hang glider, which I forget how this stays on it. It had a boulder, although the boulder might actually be from the catapult. So I'm actually going to probably put this... I have my Ewok village, or my Ewok... it's the Ewok Village, and it's I'm going to actually be using it in an upcoming unboxing video, so I think I'm going to put this and that together and just kind of have a little Ewok area. So we'll put that out over there. Okay, and last for this row, anyway. Well, maybe not. This might be one more thing. We have the Snow Speeder. Okay, this one, unfortunately, I have the cockpit, but it's come loose, so I just kind of let it rest there. So still got the catapult on the back, but I have noticed that the string is starting to wear, so you got to be careful with that. And it feels heavy. I feel like there might be. I doubt the battery works. I hope that there's no battery in here. If there's a battery in here, my goodness, it's going to be I'm going to put this on live TV, not live, but oh, there's batteries in it. Oh gosh. All right, hang on. Ugh. Energizer. Well, one of them's alright. Ooh, my goodness. The other one, ugh. Yep. Sorry, Snow Speeder. My bad. What do you want? I was a kid. I didn't know any better. I thought I had gotten them all out. It's funny. I take care of that with all the new toys, and because the new toys, a lot of them come with batteries. But other than that, it's a pretty decent shape. It actually didn't get as much use, as much wear and tear as the others. So, all right, we are doing good here. Here's another one that's from a newer one. Oh, this is something I never sadly got to see. This is the George Lucas Super Live Adventure. I think it was only in Japan. And this is back in the 80s, and they did not have a lot of Star Wars stuff going on. So, but Japan was still really into it. So they had this big Super Live Adventure, and it was a big show. It was like seeing like Ice Capades or one of those, but it was no ice. It was just running around. I think Marvel does something like that now. I think Jurassic Park, Jurassic World has a traveling thing, but this is only in Japan. So they had a few collectible items that you could get. but it's Japan. So I was able to find this on eBay. It's just a little tumbler, with a little mug. So I guess it's sort of a vintage item. I keep the tag on it to remind me where this is from, because there's a lot of this. This kind of stuff now is very, very common. You go to Disney, and any Disney park, and there's like a dozen things you can get. Sipper cups and popcorn buckets. But this was back in the day, man. This was when there was nothing. So I keep the tag to remind me of that. I never got to see it. I think you can watch it on YouTube now, so that's pretty cool. Okay, we're almost done with the next shelf. I know. There's one more shelf, or there's the bottom rack. So, my goodness. We got... this is one of my favorites. This is like just a mini rig that it would drive around, and here was this feature. Going around flat, and then all of a sudden... stealth mode, or army crawl. It made no sense why they would do that. But it was just fun. I just loved it. It was great. All right. There's a couple more I can probably get to here. Oh, my God. I have a third land speeder. How many land speeders does one person need? I think I had an idea that I was going to paint them differently. Maybe I'll do that still. Oh, I could do that. I could do a custom. I'll find the one that's the least in good, the worst shape. Hey, maybe this one. And I'll do a whole, clean it up and then paint it and make a whole different looking one. A customization. Oh. I mean, guys, they've made a lot of these. They're not that valuable. So, and then we got this one. This was something that they were playing with during Empire Jedi, was this kind of gyroscopic thing where these would stay and you could turn, and then you could put the character in there. So that was a really cool one. I thought Jedi came out with the best mini rigs, even though they probably got the least amount of people interested in them. All right, we're wrapping up here almost. We got a few more pieces. Here's the Tauntaun without the slit belly. So this is the original Tauntaun. Seen some better days. It's even back then. This is the last time I played with it, which was about, 25, 30 years ago. It started to come apart. So there's that. I should probably use this thing I should probably set up a shelf for Star Wars, a shelf for Empire, and a shelf for Jedi. And all right, and we got Jabba the Hutt. Jabba. The original Jabba came with a little chain that you could put Leia in, but they did not create a Princess Leia slave outfit in the 80s. They did not. So you'd have to put the Boushh Leia or like Princess Leia or something in there. And it had his little hookah pipe or whatever, and little Salacious Crumb. And to this day, you can still, apparently there was a warehouse where they found boxes of this little pipe and this little Salacious Crumb. Why, I don't know. But you can actually purchase those two things still. Like you can buy them like even today for like a small amount of money. But it's funny to there's a vintage item that you can still. Ooh, you there still? There's a vintage item that you can still purchase. It's crazy. All right, we are wrapping things up here. Okay, got a few more. Oh my God, I can't believe how many mini rigs there were. All right, actually, I don't think there are any more in this set. Oh, there's one more. I think that might be a new one. We got our Dewback, our Patrol Dewback. He was a very negative guy. All he did was shake his head. Nope. Heckity heck nope. That's kind of how he is. And oh my goodness, I did not realize that I had another skiff. I thought I only had one, but apparently I have two. So there we go. And this one seems in better shape, actually. This one, what I liked is how they would tie things in. Like this one, if you push this thing, the plank would come out. Some pretty cool stuff. So really awesome. But I think I'm just about out of room. So let me pause for a moment, and I will get more of this cleared out so I can show you some more. Okay, so we're wrapping things up with taking stuff out of the case. And again, part of this was just to show you the collection because, it's so hard to get it all just, panning a camera back and forth. Again, we're getting into some things here that are not vintage. I think this is a Tiger Electronics thing. I'm not exactly sure what. Because you're not cool unless you're going to school with a calculator like this. imagine trying to carry this in your pocket? I mean, I love some of the stuff. I love the quirkiness of it. I mean, I just do. I love how they try to put somebody somewhere had an idea who gets paid money to put a calculator in an A-Wing fighter. Why not? So hey, now this one, this is one that is got a lot of value to it because it not so much for the toy itself, but for the fact that it is a Droids toy. Now it'd be worth thousands if I kept it in the box, but I played with it. It was just at the end of my years playing with toys, but I did take it out of the box and I played with it. But this is a Droids vehicle. Definitely, again, inspired a little bit by the B-Wing fighter. It's got a few, again, great toy design. So, a lot of fun. All right, wrapping things up. Again, some things not associated with the vintage line. We've got a Swoop. This is from the Shadows of the Empire, which was a great kind of a book, comic book, video game, soundtrack, everything tied into a movie but the movie. And it took place between Empire and Jedi, and it was kind of like the further adventures of Leia, Han, or no, not Han, he's in Carbonite, Leia, Lando, Luke, Chewie, the droids, looking for looking for Han. And another adventure that they kind of made it. Anybody who follows along with things like Black Sun, Prince Shizor was the villain. So this is where the Swoop came from, which is kind of like a speeder bike, but it had a little more up and down range. So cool, but I'll take this out of this case and put it someplace else. And then we've got the Otobongo, but the man, he's kind of like. It's kind of weird. He's kind of swims with it. I don't remember if this just does a little back and forth thing. It's cool, but I can already tell you. Now, this came out in the 90s, and this plastic is already getting tacky. So, there you go. Another reason these toys are not meant to last. And you know what happens? If sometimes you leave them in the package, they start to melt in the package, which makes them look even worse. So, there you go. But there's Obi-Wan with his little breather on. I think that's an exclusive Obi-Wan figure. I don't know if they ever made that one again with the breather completely on there. All right, wrapping things up. Another one that was more of a recent one. This one I always thought was interesting. It's kind of a design. This is where I was one of the ones I was mentioning. I guess it was either Kenner / Hasbro designers were kind of coming up with their own ideas of what to do. And there was this thing where this really cool kind of like a thing, and then you would push this thing out, and then you get to see the guy, his head. Now, the thing is that this is not an action figure. This is just his head. It's part of the toy, so it's kind of weird. But still, kind of a cool thing. I mean, you can see him. Yeah, I mean, he looks like he's a figure, but he's just actually built into the toy, which is one of the only times that they did that. So it's kind of a cool thing, and you can change the wing span. It was a cool toy, okay? Not very popular. I think kind of had a Transformer vibe to it. But cool nonetheless. All right, 4 more things. There's a little one we got. Oh, now this is a Canon. I think this is part of the mini rig collection, but it might also have been one that they re-released. But I don't think so, because I think the one that they re-released included a figure, and I didn't have the figure in here. So I think this is the original one. Yeah, and that sound effect generally means that it was an 80s toy. That was their sound effects back then. All right, 3 more. All right, we got the Yoda. But the Yoda playset, which included this thing where you would press this button and levitate. Ooh, levitating. Use the Force. I included a Luke and a Vader in here, and a robeless Yoda. And look what I found! Oh, the other microphone for Max Rebo and the Rebo Band. Yay! Okay, so now here's an example of. There's also this thing right here. You can put R2 in this little thing, and you can have him rise. It was a cool playset. The only problem is, I want to point this out. This is what used to be the swamp foam, and it is so degraded now that it's fallen apart. And if you push it, it just stays in. That's how, degraded it is. So it's really just an open, gaping hole right now. You can also look in here and you can see there's Yoda's hut. That's where I'll place Yoda inside there. And I'll put Luke. I have this cool, the cool little feature with the, you can get him where they go back and forth. Again, kids, this was entertainment back in those days. When I show these figures, when I show these play sets, I never realized how many vintage action figures I acquired. I mean, I don't have like full sets, but I guess over the years, you know what happened? A lot of times kids gave them to me, like friends who grew up we grew up together, and then they would say to me, I have this shoebox full of action figures. You want it? And I was like, hey, yeah, sure, no problem. And they would bring them to me. Sometimes I bought them from them for a few bucks. And that's great. I did the same thing. I for a short span of time, I was collecting G.I. Joe, the smaller G.I. Joe, and the Transformers. And not collect, I played with them. And then but it was right at the age where I was just getting past playing with toys. And I was just like, you know what? I don't want to keep, I said to keep the Star Wars stuff. I know that had a sentimental place in my heart. But G.I. Joe and Transformers, not as much. I was just aging out. I still look back on it fondly. So my friend, Andy, who lived across the street from me, I gave him, he was about 5 years younger than me, I gave him all of it. I gave him every G.I. Joe thing I had. I had a lot. And I gave him all the Transformers. I wonder what he's doing. Andy, if you're watching this, and if you still have them, give me a call. Maybe I'll take them off your hands again. Use them to sell them off and use them to buy more Star Wars stuff. So. All right, and then last two, which are actually last one, because we got two different things here. We have got the Droid playset. Yes, indeedy, the Droid playset. And what made this thing, you could build droids. I have a pretty good setup here. I have it all kind of organized nicely. They came in all these different pieces, and you can put different pieces together and make different droids. But what was really cool, the really cool part about this was that it was the one way that you could make R2 with the 3 legs. You could make them with 2 legs and have them look very much like the R2s in the vintage days, or you could add the 3rd leg. It would pluck right in there, and then you could get your 3rd leg. So cool. In fact, for some reason, I even had a second one of these. Well, oh no! Sorry. I even had a second R2. I think what I did was I ended up buying that on eBay. Somebody was like vintage 3, and I wasn't thinking. I was like, oh wow, they have a vintage 3rd. They have a vintage 3rd leg, 3-legged R2. I never knew they came out with that. Not thinking, and then I realized that it was from this playset. So I kind of said, all right, well, you know what? At the end of the day, I was kind of happy to have 2, because I was able to replace some old pieces. So in the end, everybody was happy. Now I say that it was the last set, but it was actually the last 2 sets because Chewie, what are you doing in here? Get out of there. There's this. This was Jabba's dungeon. Something just fell out there. It's essentially just the same exact playset with a different paint scheme, the same crane thing with the thing, but it came with very little. All it came with was like a little piece like this that you can torture people with, or droids, or what have you. So that's all it was. And it did come with figures, which is probably where I got some of the original figures from. So, but the exact same thing. But, it was part of the playset, and I was a completist. So I decided I needed to have all of them. All right, so I've cleared out the set, the display, and I'm not going to do any fast motion. If you really want to see how the strip lighting works and where you can get it and things like that, just look at my video a few episodes ago, Lighting the Collection. This will be Lighting the Collection Part 2. But it's really more of a shelf talk, just going through all my vintage stuff. And you'll also notice that I'm going to put a few different items in. So the next thing we'll get to after I put the lights in is I'll show you how it all looks. All right, there it is, the final product again with lighting that is so much better. I can't even tell you Oh my god, I can actually see all of the vintage goodness, and this is all vintage. Every single thing in here, there isn't a single thing in here that's not vintage. I wasn't able to get, sorry for the heater, you know, the boiler boiling, but yeah, gotta heat the house. I wasn't able to get anything new except for, I think, I got Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. And part of the reason for that is that it's damaged. You can look, if you look at the right, or my right, its left wing, my right wing, you'll see that it's kind of starting to come apart. That's been like that since the 80s. So that's one reason, you know. But I managed to get that in there. I also managed to get a Y-wing fighter in there. But as you can see, even with that, it's a little bit tight. So I just wanted to try to keep it loose enough that you could see everything. All right, there we have all the other pieces there down at the bottom. I could probably strand another thing of strip lights around it, which I might consider, but I think this might be enough. It's okay. Got our dewbacks down there. I kept most of the mini rigs up top here, but kind of scattered, you know, wherever there was an open space. And the skiff, or the barge is back up here. And look, I got the little baby barge right here with him. It's like Dad taking the baby out for, you know, take your child to work day or something. I don't know. Hope it's not the day that they try to execute Luke, because that would not be a good day to take your child to work. All right. So, I gotta say though, as I mentioned earlier, I am so thrilled for these glass cases, and it's making me rethink a lot of the other displays that you see here. It's making me start to think that maybe, just maybe, I might have to start to do a little bit of investing into some other glass cases, because I have a couple that I've kind of purchased over the years, and they are so much better than just typical shelving. I mean, I like the shelving in that I can kind of, you can see I can actually get a lot in there, okay? But I'm pretty sure that, you know, there's a couple of things hanging off on the outside, but I'm pretty sure that with a little bit of ingenuity, I could probably do the same with glass cases. So I'm going to look around, see what they have. If anybody has any suggestions, if they know of any websites or places that have, you know, not the highest end, but maybe middle of the road. I always go middle of the road a lot of this stuff. Please leave it in the comments, and maybe that'll be another future episode where I start installing slowly but surely, replacing. Because this room right here, this is the crux of the Star Wars room, and you can see it's massive and it's got a lot going on. So I would definitely have to rethink a lot of things, and I have to make sure I avoid things like, you know, going anywhere near the boiler. That's the type of stuff. So glass cases might actually be the way to go. So, and you can see that one there, that one there, that one next to it, to the left over there, that one. I actually put that together myself, but I'm not a big fan of it. I'm also not a real big fan of what's inside of it, so I'm thinking about, you know, getting rid of all that and maybe just finding another kind of case. But we'll see. All things to think about in the long run. Alright, so that'll do it for this week's episode of Darth Superstars Unboxing Show. Sort of a show, sort of a shelf talk, sort of a do-it-yourself, a little bit of everything. But my walkthrough, the main part of my vintage goodness, and boy, I'm so happy I've been able to keep this stuff. I know a lot of people will say, well, it's just toys. I mean, why are you collecting toys? Well, you know what? It means a lot to me. So, and if you have something like this that means a lot to you, like, by all means, you know, figure something out, figure out ways you can do it. And there's no wrong way. There's no wrong way to collect. There's no wrong way to display. Some people collect it and put it in boxes. They just like to take it out and look at it every once in a while, and that's good too. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Hopefully we'll get a live episode, or if we haven't already gotten a live episode in, we hope to get one in soon. And we will see you guys next time. Until then, may the Force be with you.